The uncontrolled COVID flare-up is inciting government authorities the country over to force new limitations on shoppers and organizations, sapping the economy's energy and deferring the recuperation of millions of positions lost during the downturn. Washington's inability to offer extra monetary help is exacerbating the financial trouble. In spite of the fact that Federal Reserve Chair Jerome H. Powell this week rehashed his require a new round of siphon preparing, the economy for the time being is left to explore a colder time of year of infection and misfortune independent. On Friday, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam fixed cutoff points on eateries and indoor get-togethers, compelling at 12:01 a.m. Monday, while the legislative heads of California, Oregon and Washington state gave a joint explanation debilitating travel and encouraging guests to isolate upon appearance for 14 days. The chairman of New York City, in the interim, cautioned guardians that state-funded schools could close when Monday. Comparable measures are mulling over impact or somewhere else, including Chicago, where the City Hall leader on Thursday gave a stay-at-home warning only hours before Illinois Gov. J.B. Pritzker compromised a required statewide request. The recharged clampdown is suggestive of the most noticeably terrible days of the pandemic toward the beginning of March, when sports alliances, cinemas and cafes suddenly went into hibernation in order to curb the infection. Those means were just somewhat effective and came at extraordinary expense. Before the finish of June, the economy had contracted by $2.2 trillion, more than Italy's whole yearly yield. Presently, as networks around the nation crawl toward new closures, the economy is again in danger. Shoppers are developing more negative about the future, as indicated by the most recent University of Michigan certainty check. Also, even before new limitations were reported, they had started scaling back spending. We see more grounded development in 2021. Be that as it may, we need an extension to arrive, said business analyst Gregory Dacko of Oxford Economics. The standpoint is really very dim. The descending into sin comes after a more grounded than anticipated bounce back from this present spring's unexpected downturn. Marginally, the greater part of the 22 million Americans who lost their positions when trivial organizations shut have gotten back to work, and the current 6.9% joblessness rate is well beneath the twofold digit calculates that most Wall Street financial experts initially had gauged. Yield extended in the second from last quarter at a record rate. However, with in excess of 11 million still jobless, the United States is at risk for wasting the hard-won advancement it has made in revamping the economy. On Friday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, D-Caliph, said the rampaging infection spoke to a crisis of the most elevated greatness. But she and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, RK, have held no discussions on another salvage bundle. In El Paso, neighborhood authorities have conveyed 10 portable funeral home trailers to deal with an overabundance of carcasses. The region's top chosen official this week broadened a closure of superfluous organizations until December 1st, requesting inhabitants to remain at home and maintain a strategic distance from movement. The pandemic has driven about 300 organizations bankrupt in the fringe network, as per David Jerome, the leader of the Neighborhood Office of Trade. An extra 300 organizations, eateries, boutiques and retail shops, have just enough money close by to get by for not exactly a month. Individuals are arriving at where they're pretty extended. Individuals are helpless. 8 months into a noteworthy emergency, the United States has all the earmarks of being suspended in such a monetary limbo. The work market is gradually mending, with starting joblessness claims falling for 4 straight weeks. However, the infection standpoint is troubling and getting grimmer. On Thursday, the United States unexpectedly detailed in excess of 150,000 cases in a solitary day. Inside the following week, the everyday complete will top 200,000 and is probably going to arrive at 300,000 by early December, as indicated by Ian Shepherdson, boss business analyst for Pantheon Macroeconomics. By mid-December, medical clinics will be overwhelmed with twice the same number of COVID patients as during the pandemic's previous waves, except if most enormous populous states force substantially more extreme limitations on the recreation and accommodation areas, and on indoor social occasions, very soon, he wrote in a note to customers Friday. Customers as of now have started conserving. Spending by 30 million Chase credit and charge card holders through November 9th was 7.4% beneath a year ago's level and had fallen eminently in the course of recent weeks, as indicated by business analyst Jesse Edgerton of JP Morgan Chase. Financial specialists are benefiting notwithstanding the demolishing well-being circumstance. On Friday, the Dow Jones Modern Normal rose almost 400 focuses and is up in excess of 11% this month. However, a great many American families are enduring a quiet monetary press. Between the finish of September and the finish of October, the quantity of Americans saying it was exceptionally troublesome to pay their typical family expenses rose by more than 2.3 million to 34.8 million, as indicated by the Census Bureau's Heartbeat Overview. In Los Angeles, Micah Martin, 57, has been attempting to get by since losing his employment as a medical care preparing expert. He at long last got joblessness benefits this mid-year similarly as he was planning to move back to his folks' home in Oklahoma. Los Angeles County Well-Being Authorities cautioned Friday that more tight action cutoff points might be impending if an ongoing flood in COVID cases isn't contained. The district as of now is working under the most prohibitive conditions in California's four-layered framework. There are motivations to trust the economy will charge better in the following not many months than it did during the pandemic's first wave. Specialists have more experience treating coronavirus, the sickness brought about by the COVID. More Americans are wearing covers and rehearsing social removing. Furthermore, an exceptionally compelling antibody could be generally accessible by April, as per Anthony S. Fauci, the country's driving irresistible infection subject matter expert. The American individual's response to the flood will be fundamentally unique in relation to what it was in the spring, said Michael Strain, a business analyst with the American Enterprise Institute. That is by all accounts valid in the retreat town of Branson, Mo. Gail Meyer, VP of family-possessed Meyer Hotels, said the organization has protected workers and visitors through veil wearing, social separating and upgraded disinfecting and cleanliness. Despite the fact that business is down fundamentally, and he has diminished his labor force by 33%, Meyer said October was the organization's greatest month in the current year. November could be surprisingly better. In any case, the $3 trillion in government uphold that padded the hit to the economy in the spring is presently missing. The resurgent infection may push down movement regardless of what government authorities do. This proposes the work market recuperation could seriously slow or even converse in coming a very long time as the nation attempts to get the infection leveled out, business analysts at Bank of America said Friday. In Chicago, restaurateur Kevin Boehm, 50, shut 2 of his 20 cafes and laid off 1,800 of his about 2,000 representatives in the spring. With the infection spreading wildly, city authorities on October 30th reimposed a restriction on indoor feasting only 1 month after they had loosened up cafe limits. Over a 27-year vocation, Boehm has had a stove detonate in his face and seen an eatery burn to the ground. Yet, with income off by 80%, the pandemic has pushed him and his accomplice in the Boca Group to the verge. Presently, as Boehm considers multi-million-dollar monetary misfortunes and the possibility of extra cutbacks, he is looking to Washington. The House a month ago passed enactment to give $120 billion in awards to autonomous eateries in the midst of alerts that 85% of them could fizzle without help. Yet, the Senate still can't seem to follow up on the measure. Ryan Rivett, CEO of My Place Hotels of America, is likewise depending on new upgrade enactment. His long visit in-network stayed open all through the pandemic, with supervisors of certain properties resting nearby to make up for diminished staffing. Rivett got a trivial government advance recently, which was expected to forestall cutbacks. Be that as it may, while he can change his work costs as request vacillates, his credit installments are less adaptable. The financial standpoint is obfuscated by the restricted idea of some new limitations. As the heightening well-being crisis takes steps to overpower medical clinic frameworks, limitations are spreading to politically moderate states, for example, West Virginia, Iowa and Wyoming, that had opposed such measures during before periods of the pandemic.